Hey, JP, obviously George Kirby making his debut for 2025. We're just looking at his numbers, and 24, he's number one as far as allowing walks, and number 9 innings pitched. Would you make of his outing? And then, is it unfair to expect him? I mean, obviously we don't expect him to go back to those numbers because, I mean, he was top 20 in a lot of different categories. But what'd you see from him? Pretty good velocity. But what'd you see out of him? What do you make of it?
There's more good than bad, I thought, Dave. And obviously the end line didn't look great in terms of how many runs he gave up, and it wasn't an especially long outing either. And so the ERA is going to look a little un-Kirby-like for a while. But that, you got to remember, and I heard Shannon talk about this on the morning show too, that it is just his first start. He's just settling back in now to the competitive atmosphere of Major League Baseball, and it's going to take some time. Right. The important thing, to your point, I'll say 2 numbers that stood out. Number 1, the average fastball velo was what you would expect in that same range, so very good there. That's number 1. And number 2, he only walked 1 batter. And so when you've got someone who's coming off of a long layoff, you do sometimes wonder, is the command going to be there? Is he trying to be a little bit too fine? And certainly I think on some of the extra base damage, there were some missed locations for sure. Maybe one pitch that was just up in the zone and really hittable. But for the most part, I thought his command was fine. Not great, but fine. And that's what you would expect from a first competitive start of the year, especially when it's Memorial Day weekend. So I think overall it was a good sign. I know yesterday there was concern about Julio, and then Wu gets hit by a foul ball. It was not a great day for the Mariners in Houston yesterday, but I do think there are better days ahead on a variety of fronts. And you look at this team, and to me the single sentence statement to be made about the Mariners here on May the 23rd is many things have gone wrong, and yet they're still in first place.
Yeah.
That to me is the essence of the Mariners right now.
Real quick, with Kirby, I mean, is velocity the best indicator of health? I mean, when you see him coming back, I mean, you said the command wasn't there. We saw that. But, as far as the velocity, is that a good sign of things to come?
It is good. And I think sometimes I would say this, that when velocity drops significantly, it's a red flag for sure. And we did not see that last night. I think the velocity has been pretty steady. It was about what we expected it to be against the Astros. So I think from that standpoint, it was good. The command is often, to me, that's the final piece. And obviously for our listeners, the terminology of baseball, we sometimes hear a lot about command and control. Control is the ability to throw strikes, and then command is quality strikes within the zone located where you want it to be. Yeah. Because obviously, if you have good control, you can throw fastballs center cut all day long, but if they get whacked, that's not ideal. That's not good command. It's control, but not good command. Command is well placed in the zone. And I think that's the piece that's probably still working its way back. But again, the control was good because he only walked 1 batter. So I think from that standpoint, again, not a great first outing, but there was more good than bad, I thought, in the overall outcome for Kirby and the Mariners.
When you look at this offense, JP, do you look at a team that come the trade deadline, and we'll see where they're at in the standings, that they're going to need to add? I mean, we're all loving what they've been able to do offensively to this point, but 2 of the biggest catalysts for this offense in April have really cooled off in May. And you look at Jorge Polanco in April was ridiculous. 379, 422 on base. I mean, he was just crushing it. Month of May, he's hitting a $167 and a 250 on base. And you look at J.P. Crawford, kind of the same story, where he got off to that tremendous start, 325 with a 447 on base in April, just unreal. And then you look at May, he's hitting 230. He's got a 337 on base. So, and you expected that, right? These guys weren't going to play at that clip the whole year. You expected them to come back a bit. Now Polanco's really scuffling in the month of May, but so overall, 2 of the biggest catalysts for where they are have cooled. Do you look at that and go, okay, they're going to be fine, they're going to get back to where they were, something closer, or this is going to be a team that needs some additions to be made to this offense?
It's the latter. I think especially if they feel as though this is the year to make a run, and really it should be, because, and I made this comment in a different context earlier today, you need to hit your window in a way that, for example, the Orioles did not. And if you needed any more reminder of how precarious pitching health can be, I present to you the first third of the year of the Seattle Mariners. They've lived this. There's been a lot of injury already, and yet they're still in first place in what is a very winnable American League West. And you look around the landscape of this league overall, yeah, we talked about the Tigers. They're a good ball club. The Red Sox are very average for me. The Yankees are still good, but they don't have Cole or they don't have Soto. There's a lot of key pieces from last year's team that aren't there anymore. And so you look at the landscape. If I'm a Mariner fan, I think it's very legitimate to expect that after a relatively quiet offseason, now is when you go. You've got, even with the pitching being somewhat imperfect, you're still good enough to be able to win a division and then get yourself into the dance. And by then you hope that Gilbert and Kirby and Wu are all in form, and then you're ready to roll. And so that's where I do think adding an infield bat, and it's probably a little early to figure out exactly who that might be. There are some teams that will, I think, make some moves. The Rockies, who knows, right? They're under such scrutiny right now because of their lack of competitiveness. Does that mean they're more or less likely to move someone like Ryan McMahon as you get closer to the deadline? Teams that we thought were going to be aggressive sellers like the Cardinals are all of a sudden playing well, and so maybe Arenado is not available. But I do think that there will be an infielder out there that will make sense for what the Mariners need. And the tricky part is how you make all the pieces work. We know this, of course, they've got some young shortstops, obviously, that middle infielders that might be able to, as we're already seeing this year, potentially impact the club. So there's a lot of decisions to be made there. The one positive thing you would say is, and Montes by now is having a really good start to the year, of course, in Everett. 2 homers this week again. And so there's a lot of excitement about the Mariner farm system, which means either A, are you going to be really aggressive and promote from within and hope that someone from the system can really become an everyday player for you, or B, that it's time to make a trade and augment this group. But unless and until you've got mega long-term deals signed with the starting pitching core, you better maximize what you've got right now, especially when it looks like teams like the Astros and the Red Sox and even the Guardians are maybe not quite as strong top to bottom as they were a year ago.
Hey, JP, Rowdy Tellez has kind of been an interesting player to watch. I mean, his average is 207, but he's got 8 home runs. He's tied for 47th and tied for 84th with RBIs, had an RBI last night. And then, defensively, I'm kind of hit or miss with him. I mean, every once in a while when they say he dove for a ball, I'll say, I think he fell for a ball. However tall he is, that's what he's going to cover. But then you see him make, incredible picks at first base. What do you think of that guy? Where is he? How does he fit in?
I've always been a big Tellez fan, going back to when he was with the Blue Jays and then, of course, Milwaukee. I just think he's a pro and great in the clubhouse, really great personality, someone that I think people are drawn to. Of course, played for Mexico at the WBC. He's got a really powerful family story, his background. He's just a really grounded person, which is a good thing in this game. He's been through a lot. He's been on the margins of the roster before, and I think he's really grateful for the opportunity that he's got now in Seattle, and he's making the most of it. He's having a Rowdy Tellez type of a year. He's never going to bat 320. He's going to be a low average with some strikeouts, with some walks, and then damage. And that's there's maybe a similarity to Carlos Santana's game a little bit. With Rowdy, maybe he's not quite as patient as Santana is. I think Santana's going to be able to go 1 for 4 with 2 walks when he's about 55 years old. I'm not sure that Tellez can do that, but he does bring a good element to this team. And again, this is an area where if you're a team that has some offensive question marks, you really can't give up production on your corner spot at first base, let's say, especially, and then at DH. You can't suffer from a lack of production. If you've got some players that are important defensively, like J.P. Crawford, for example. J.P. does so much on the defensive side of the ball that you can live with lower production because of all that he means to your team defensively and on the bases to an extent as well. You have to have production at first base and DH, and ideally the corner outfield spots. You have to. And that's where I think this team is still finding its way. It's interesting. The whole right now is greater than the sum of the parts. which is what we said about them a few years ago when they made the playoffs. And this feels a bit more like that kind of a team than the kind of team that left Mariner fans in the front office a little bit wanting at the end of the year in both 23 and in 24.